This video is brought to you by SoccerPro.com. Be sure to visit SoccerPro.com for all the latest soccer gear at everyday low prices with no membership fees. Don't forget to use coupon code SR4U at checkout for $10 off a $75 purchase, plus free shipping within the US. Hey guys, Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com, bringing you a comparison video between the Nike CTR360 Maestri 2 and the brand new Nike CTR360 Maestri 3. The CTR360 Maestri has kind of established itself as one of those very popular shoes on the market, and it also offers something that's completely unique, and it really introduced it when it first launched, and that is the Kangalite upper. Basically, the concept behind Kangalite is to provide a synthetic kangaroo leather where you have kind of the best of both worlds, where you have that soft feel of kangaroo leather with the lighter benefits as well as the less absorbing of water that you would get from a synthetic material. But as far as the differences between these two shoes goes, they've kind of changed it dramatically. The difference between the Maestri 1 and 2 kind of weren't all that different. They kind of just tweaked it in the Maestri 2. But the Maestri 3, they've really changed the shoe quite significantly. And I think that the end result is a really good thing. But both of these shoes are very good shoes. It's definitely difficult to pick a favorite between the two, but I'll talk about them a little bit. To start with the Maestri 2, it features a Kangalite upper. It's fairly soft, fairly thin as well. It doesn't have that natural padding that you would normally get from a kangaroo leather, which is not necessarily a fault, but it's not going to provide that leather-like feel if that's what you're looking for. The Maestri 1 or the 2 really didn't provide that leather feel. It had a slightly cushioned feel, but it doesn't have that natural padding that leather has. It does provide that nice softness that leather has. Especially after a little bit of break-in time, you might find them to be a little bit stiff out of the box, but once you break them in, they soften up really nicely. And what's really great about all of the Kangalite materials is that they don't tend to stretch very much, given that they are synthetic, so that general shape that they have, they tend to keep it pretty well, which is good for the durability and the longevity of the overall shoe. As far as the rest of the upper goes, you have this really unique fit where it has the off-center lacing, but instead of to the outside, it's actually on the instep, leaving the kind of outside of the foot a little bit bigger, which is why they kind of marketed this shoe as kind of a control shoe. But they left that whole instep big. But this having the laces right here really makes for a shoe that fits really well, and it allows you to tighten the shoe really nicely as well. There's nice padding in the tongue, so you're not going to have any kind of lace bite or anything like that. You also get a suede heel liner, and the overall fit of the shoe is really nice. They do tend to fit about a half size small, so going up half a size is not going to be too big of an issue for you. I would normally wear a size 9, and I definitely do fit in the size 9, but the toe box seems to be a little bit smaller, so going up a half size is definitely not going to hurt you in the long run, and something that I would recommend if you don't want your shoe to be just overly tight, which can be an issue, because I like to wear my shoes pretty tight, but staying true to size can be a little bit of an issue, especially if you do have a little bit wider foot in the forefoot. As far as the Maestri 3 goes, they've completely changed the upper here. It's basically Kangalite 2.0. It's significantly softer from right out of the box, and it also has to be a little bit more padding to it. They kind of tried to make the shoe a little bit thinner, but it seems to have a little bit more of a natural padding to it, which makes it gives it more of a leather-like feel, which I really do like. Of course, you have the shape of the shoe is pretty much exactly the same. Again, going up half a size is definitely not going to hurt you, and you still have that suede heel liner as well. You actually have a suede heel all the way around, so the collar is heel as well. Instead of just having the back of the heel, the entire inside here is suede, which is really nice. I like that they did that. But as far as the rest of the upper goes, it's that same fit, like I said. Going up half a size is not going to hurt you, and that's pretty much it as far as the upper goes. It's a little bit softer. It does tend to stretch a little bit, just a little bit more than this one does, simply because it is a little bit softer. But other than that, the fit is going to be pretty much identical. If you have worn the Maestri 2, going with the same size in the Maestri 3 is definitely what you want to do. As far as the touch of these shoes goes, given that these are control shoes, that was kind of the main thing that made these shoes so popular. Nobody ever kind of came on the market offering a control shoe. And you have a couple different elements on this particular shoe. On the Maestri 2, you have these two kind of control pods, which feature this memory foam layer on the inside, which is kind of like a dampening pad when you touch the ball. And it does work as kind of it's marketed as. It does offer a little bit of dampening quality, which I really do like, and it offers a completely unique feel that you wouldn't normally get. You have this kind of soft touch right here on the outside, where the rest of the shoe has somewhat of a soft touch, but it's a little bit more closer to the foot feel, which a lot of people like. I really do like the overall feel of the shoe. It does offer a really nice touch, especially if you're looking for a synthetic shoe to have that kind of extra durability, but don't want that super thin feel. The Maestris always offer that kind of
middle ground for synthetic. And then of course you have these pass pads on the inside here. This one's kind of irrelevant. It really doesn't do all that much. It's kind of there almost more for show. And you have this little triangular thing with these little extra ridges on the outside, similar to what we see on the Laser 3 and 4. Overall, I find this to be somewhat unnoticeable. The rubber is not particularly abrasive. It's not super noticeable. A lot of people do like these extra ridges on here. It adds a little bit of extra bulk on the instep of the foot, which some people do like, but like I said, it's not really abrasive enough. It's not going to provide too much grip on the ball. I personally could do without it, but nobody's really ever complained about it. It's something that it's not going to bother you whether you do tend to like it or not like it. But that's pretty much it as far as the touch goes. They offer a really nice touch, the Maestri 2. And again, they're still a fantastic shoe. I wouldn't write them off just because the new version is out. But as far as the new version goes, it's completely different. You can see that there's no more memory foam on these shoes at all. But it's actually kind of a benefit. I kind of like it better without the memory foam. It doesn't have the extra bulk to it. And the Kangalite actually has this like natural leather to it, which makes it feel more like a kangaroo leather, which is really great. But the main thing as far as the touch goes on this particular shoe is the all conditions control coating that they put on here. You can't feel it on your hand. You can't really see anything. It feels pretty much just like the standard Kangalite. But when you actually touch a ball, you notice that it has kind of this gritty feeling against the ball, almost like sandpaper. It's not a sticky feeling, but it has this somewhat abrasive feel to it, which is completely unique and really threw me off when I first tried these shoes out. Keep in mind, I do have a brand new pair of both of these shoes here. I have tested them. I have other pairs that I have worn for a significant amount of time, so I'm not just talking off the top of my head here for those of you that are wondering, because these are brand new pairs right here I have in my hand. But again, the feeling is completely unique, and the concept is to provide the same amount of grip in dry as well as wet conditions. And I can tell you that I have tested it out in the wet, and it's definitely an improvement over just not having the coating. But it's more of a matter for me, it's just liking the coating in dry conditions, because it does offer somewhat of a unique feel. It definitely did take a little bit of getting used to, as far as having that little, it's just a very strange texture on the ball, which I came to like after a couple hours of use, and it really didn't bother me anymore. But keep in mind that it is a little bit different, and it's something that you may or may not expect on the shoe. But as far as the pass pad goes on the inside, you can see that it's become more of a significant element on the shoe rather than this little triangle thing. The rubber on here is very abrasive. You have these little ridges coming off. Again, similar to the Lasers, to provide that extra grip. And the concept here is to provide that kind of flat surface for the ball when passing the ball. That's why you have the ridges that get more aggressive towards the outside, and then they kind of smoothen out, flatten out towards the inside. So you have that exactly kind of that curved cushion area for the ball, which is really nice. Again, they're really abrasive, really sticky, more than you would think it would be. Which again takes a little bit of getting used to, but once you do get used to it, I did come to like them. And they add more of a grip element to the shoe, which is kind of nice, I guess, if you are a fan of that extra rubber element on your shoe, without it being too much in the way. And it does add a different feel to the shoe that you wouldn't normally get had it not been there. But that's pretty much the touch on these two shoes. Again, they're very different in terms of how they feel, but I would say that if you're looking for a more cushion, more leather-like feel, the CTR360 is probably what you're looking for. But if you want something a little bit thinner, maybe a little bit of extra bulk on the inside, outside of the foot, then a little less bulk on the inside, the Maestri 3 is going to be something for you. But again, you're really going to like both of these shoes. They offer really unique touches, but really great, especially for a synthetic shoe. As far as the sole plate and stud pattern goes, they're completely different. The Maestri 2 offers a sole plate and stud pattern that personally I didn't mind, but I wasn't a terribly big fan of. You have this all bladed stud pattern here with this kind of circular pattern on the inside. You've probably heard me talk about this before. A lot of people are using firm ground stud patterns on turf, which I totally don't recommend. It's going to compromise the durability of your shoe, and it's really not what the stud pattern was designed for. So you could compromise not only the durability of your shoe, but as well as your own safety, simply because they could be a little bit clingy. They're really not designed for turf or artificial grass or any kind of artificial surface. That is why these companies do offer an artificial ground stud pattern. But the stud pattern itself is made to provide that all directional grip, as well as being very stable. You're going to notice that all the studs are pretty well the same length. So when you do step down on the ground, you do have that very stable feel. There's a ton of studs, a ton of contact with the ground. And you also have, because of these circular stud patterns, you have grip in pretty much every direction for pushing off, which is really, really great. And of course, you have your standard 4 studs in the back. Sole plate itself is a standard kind of plastic sole plate that we've seen from Nike in the past, and overall does a pretty good job. The new stud pattern sole plate on the CTR360 Maestri 3 is a little bit different. The plastic itself is much thinner, but it's also much stiffer and more responsive than the previous version. It's a brand new plastic from Nike, and it also allows for the sole plate to be a little bit thinner, so you sit a little bit closer to the ground than you normally would. Which again is not super noticeable, but it is something that they did include in the shoe. And don't worry about the sole plate being very thin. It doesn't really have any effect on getting any stud pressure or anything. The plastic is definitely stiff enough to reduce all the stud pressure. So don't be worried about that if that's something that is one of your concerns. As far as the stud pattern goes, they've kind of gone for something a little bit more along the lines of a traditional stud pattern with a little bit of tweaks in it. You're going to notice that the studs on the outside of the shoe are all pretty much these very small bladed studs, where the studs on the inside are kind of these half blade, half conical studs. I don't know how great you guys can see it. If you want to check out the high quality pictures of these, you'll get a better idea of how they look. Again, that link will be in the description on to the website, soccerreviewsforyou.com. So go ahead and check that out. But you notice that all the studs are conical when you look at to the outside. And the reason being for that is when you're actually pushing off and running, you're always pushing off from the inside. So the concept here is to provide that extra grip when you plant in your foot into the ground, but that conical stud is going to allow your foot to release a little bit better. If you ever heard me talk about conical studs versus bladed studs, generally blades tend to grab a little bit harder, where conical studs tend to release a little bit quicker. So you kind of have the best of both worlds in this particular stud pattern, which is something that I really like. But other than that, I can't say I prefer one over the other. I guess I can actually. I would say that the CTR360 has a little bit better one, simply because it's a little bit more traditional, something that I just like a little bit better. I'm not terribly a big fan of the CTR360 Maestri 2 sole plate stud pattern, but again, if you are going to be using these shoes mainly on turf, I definitely recommend going with the AG stud pattern rather than the firm ground stud patterns, or even the soft ground pro stud patterns. They're just not made for turf. If you're going to be playing on an artificial surface, get the artificial ground stud pattern. As far as the insoles go, I know you guys like to see the insoles. This particular blue insole I have here is the CTR360 Maestri 2 insole. And as you can see, it's like the standard Nike top-end insoles, besides the Vapor, of course. You have basically the foam insole with the pour-on inserts in the heel, as well as in the forefoot and big toe area. Whereas the new insole is a little bit slimmed down, it's a little bit lighter, and it's the same thickness of foam. And again, you don't need that extra kind of cushion in the shoe to eliminate stud pressure, simply because the sole on this particular shoe is a little bit stiffer. The plastic's a little bit harder, so it's not necessary to have all that extra padding. And they kind of decided to shave a little bit of weight through the insole, and that's what they've done on the CTR360 Maestri 3. As far as weight goes, there is a little bit of a difference between these two models. The CTR360 Maestri 2 has a listed weight of 10.6 ounces, where the Maestri 3 has a little bit lighter listed weight of 9.2 ounces. As far as both of these shoes, they don't really feel heavy on your feet. They're about average weight for shoes as far as shoes goes, at least in terms of how they feel. But I can say that the CTR360 Maestri 3 does feel a little bit lighter than the CTR360 2, which is definitely something worth noting. And I can see where they shed some of the weight. You have the thinner sole plate, the thicker plastic. Also keep in mind these are both size 9.5 US, and they're both brand new pairs, so the listed weight is going to be exactly here. So I'm going to weigh these in real time for you guys so you can see exactly what they do weigh. And the CTR360 Maestri 2 weighs in at 10.1 ounces, so 0.5 ounces less than the listed weight, which is about average weight. It's not heavy, it's not extremely light, but something that's going to be about what you would want for a shoe of this type. And then the CTR360 Maestri 2, which feels really, really light in your hands. I'll weigh that for you guys. And that weighs in at 8.4 ounces. Keep in mind the listed weight is about 9.4, I believe. So it weighs a little bit lighter. And hovering around that 8 ounce mark for a shoe that kind of has this nice padded upper, it's really, really good. 8 ounces is around that kind of bare minimum for a speed boot or a more lightweight shoe. So it's nice that they've kind of brought the weight down without kind of skimping out on the upper quality or any of the other kind of sturdiness of the shoe. But as far as having a preference between the two, I can't say I've worn the CTR360 enough to really give my overall final opinion on it, but from what I can tell so far, it's a really, really solid shoe by Nike, and I can say that I do like it so far a little bit better than I do like the CTR360 Maestri 2. Keep in mind, they're both really good shoes, and you can get really great deals on both of these shoes. They're not particularly expensive as far as top-end shoes can go up to. You can get really good deals on the CTR360 Maestri 2. Again, there'll be links in the description to the review page on my website, where there'll be exclusive deals from to exclusive websites with exclusive coupon codes for SR4U viewers. to get additional discounts on top of the already very good prices. So go ahead and check that out if that does interest you. You also find the high quality pictures as well as buy it now links. As well as the full written review with that really goes into detail as far as how these two shoes feel. The CTR360 there is no full written review up. It'll be up in about 2 weeks or so, guys. I'm going to kind of get this one out a little bit quicker than I would normally because I know you guys are waiting on the shoe. But if you are waiting for the review, I can tell you, go ahead. These shoes are great. You can definitely jump the gun. No need to wait if you really are anxious to get your hands on a pair of these. Again, the buy it now links with the best prices online, as well as exclusive coupon codes for SR4 reviewers to get additional discounts. Those buy it now links will be on the review page, as well as the high quality pictures of this particular shoe. They give you kind of a more in-depth look at the close details that you wouldn't normally see in the stock photos. Again, go ahead and check out the Facebook page, guys. There'll be a link in the description of that. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.